This is the Tapped In Podcast, the podcast for beverage distributors that want to empower their sales team to drive business results. Listen up and welcome back to another episode of the Tapped In Sales Podcast, your podcast for beer distributors by beer distributors. I'm your moderator for today, Bud, here with co-host Moneyball Ross, also with our Magic Mike from the Tapped In Podcast land, and then we'll also have brand new, we're going to name you today, Mike, Facilities Mike, Data Mike and Facilities
Appropriate.
Mike. Appropriate, yes. So we have a new guest on today from Facility Planning. We've got Mike Pratt. Mike is going to take us through some things that have been on our mind, a little bit off of beaten path of a sales conversation today, but something that is probably on strategic leaders' minds, maybe even sales reps' minds, and definitely operations people around, like with the SKU proliferation, new categories, even things that we talked about on the Beer Business Daily Beer Distributor Productivity Summit, where we're starting to sell non-beverage type items like chips, salty snacks, gummies as well, Mike, although there are many samples in that Delta 9 THC gummy land for us to partake in when available with clients, all that new stuff. So Mike's here from Facility Planning. He's a seasoned veteran and project manager. You've worked with some clients of ours. Mike and this crew has known Mike for years. Tell us, Mike, a little bit of background of where you come from, where you started, and what you're doing professionally now with the crew, my man.
I started in the Air Force and spent 20 years in the Air Force doing security, police, and construction contract management at separate times. Retired in 2001 and went to work for Anheuser-Busch for about 8 years doing wholesaler facility planning. So working with wholesalers and building concerns. And in 2009, decided it was time to fly free and start my own thing. So I've been working with independent wholesalers across the spectrum since then.
I love it. That's awesome. And you've done over $500 million worth of projects and delivering about, $36 million in savings to clients over that time period as well, too.
That's correct. Yep.
That's incredible. So you started with, when did you start with Anheuser-Busch?
2001, August of 2001.
We would have just missed working with Mike for sure. We built our last warehouse
97.
Mike in 97, 98. Yeah, we would have just missed working with Mike. That sucks. But, hey, there's always another warehouse in our future, right, Mike?
There you go. Exactly.
Do you still own the building?
We do, yes.
I mean, you could always renovate it.
You can always renovate it, yes.
You can always renovate it.
That is very true. I love it.
Mike, do you have any contracts available with you? Do the deal now.
So facility planning offers things like new construction, additions, retrofits, warehouse and docking optimization. You've got temperature controlled solutions. You're doing operational layout, maybe some cross-docking efficiencies as well. You've done some stuff on sustainability consulting. Let's kind of double click into that real quick. You did a project around geothermal at a client's business too. What did that look like? Like, I haven't seen very many people use anything other than, gas and electric for heating and cooling in the distribution world, but you've got a client that's heavy in solar and heavy in geothermal.
So it started out with geothermal. As far as I know, they're still the only beer wholesaler in the country that's 100% heated and cooled using geothermal technology. Subsequently, after we built the building, in fact, only a couple of years ago, they put in a 1,200 megawatt solar system. So they're completely off the grid when they want to be.
That's incredible.
It is.
So where in the country is this that has the option of geothermal?
Illinois. Many places in the country have the option for it. It's just spending the money to do it.
That's where you just drive you pipe it down deep into the ground, right, where the temperature is either cooler or warmer, right?
Well, there are actually different ways to do it. You can drive it down in the ground, or you can create a pond. So dig a pond that goes down, at least I believe it's 26 feet to get down to that median temperature, about 54, 56 degrees. And so it's always there. And you run lake loops or loops of water into the bottom of the lake, and then use that as your heat sink for the cooling system or for the HVAC.
Then how do you
All
get
the
it?
engineering.
I mean, this is actually really interesting to me. Then
It's fascinating.
how do you get it up to a temperature where the admin department's comfortable though?
So
Your 54 ain't gonna do it.
right, using heat pumps. So there are engineers out there who are a lot smarter about it than I am. I know how to. My expertise is finding the right people to do it and get it done for the owner. So that's kind of where I was in the process. I didn't actually design the system. I found the people to design it and then found the right people to install it and made sure they installed it correctly and it worked.
So Ross, when the admin department's frustrated with how cold the office is, we just plug in the space heaters. That's
I
how
was
it
gonna
works.
say. I mean, we go straight to the fire hazard. I mean, the sea of space heaters.
They really don't use them. I mean, I've been in that building in January and July over the last 15 years that they've been in it. And it's
Mike,
always,
it doesn't matter whether the building's 55 or 85. The space
Well,
heaters are on.
that's true.
I love it. I love it.
That's
So,
true.
Mike, tell us a little bit more. You're kind of an owner's representative too, where you are helping somebody who's like, I've got a plot of land, I want to build a new warehouse, or I've got an existing building that needs some retrofitting or retro, management. And you come in as that like owner's representative and contract coordinator or project manager. How would you describe your day-to-day work environment with distributors out there in the world?
So I essentially become the owner's construction management expert. Just like they have a vice president of sales or a vice president of admin or finance, I've become that project management guy just for that project, whether it's a new build, an expansion. So they're kind of different parts of what I do. The first part generally is the planning part, and whether it's figuring out how much total building needs to be and then helping them find a site. I do that as part of the service. Or, once we get into that, then we start the planning process where we try to lay out the most operationally efficient building for them that we can. I mean, I sit down with the owner and their team and we go through what their needs are specifically for their business and design a building that meets those needs, both now and in the future. Part of what we're always trying to do is maximize future expansion opportunities and kind of get out our crystal ball and see into the future and see, what things are going to look like and how they want to operate into the future, 7 to 10 years from now.
And when you're thinking about maximizing expansion opportunities, are you thinking about like the materials you actually use to build and construct the building, or where you put it on the property, or what property you pick, or all of the above?
The above. Like it's a holistic approach of, making it the best it can be now and the best it can be for the foreseeable future. I mean, as you well know, these are like generational businesses and they need to be generational buildings. So when we do, a concrete tilt-up building, that's something that's going to be there for 50 or 60 years. And that's multiple generations of that family's business.
That's exactly what we built. Big ass poured concrete walls. It's a monster. Yep. There's nothing moving that thing. Do you see many folks building the poured concrete still, or have they moved back to like the rafter and insulated, sided built warehouses, or are they mix of both?
Well, it's a mix of both, but I would say it leans more heavily to concrete most of the time. There's a premium for it. It's not a huge premium these days, and it's just a better building overall. You get It's just thermally more efficient. Savings is a hard word there, but it's generating savings over a insulated metal panel building, typically speaking, because it's a better thermal envelope when constructed properly.
And it makes it a little bit harder to poke the forks through.
It's really hard to do that.
Not impossible, as we learned in our building, but harder.
No, did somebody really put forks through the wall at some point, Mike? I don't remember that.
Not an exterior wall, just an interior wall.
Oh, that's only like 8 inches thick. That's not 13 inches thick.
What happened there? You can't leave us hanging there. What happened there?
Miscalculations.
Somebody
Yeah.
left the mast up, right?
Yeah, it was years ago. Actually, I think the best story that ever came out was our CEW, because most forklifts, they have the extended rear rack on them, right? The whatever that brace is. And where our keg cooler was, our mast would go all the way and touch the ceiling. And when somebody was taking off the top layer of kegs, hit the sprinkler system, and we had to find real quick where that shutoff valve was.
Not only did they hit the sprinkler system, but one of the kegs came down and like landed on the forklift too, and
Yeah.
like busted open this row,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah, it was a giant mess.
That's not good.
My question
Tom-
is what's the building material that we found thus far that can actually survive the Red Bull?
Yeah, energy drinks on the concrete.
Oh,
It eats through the concrete.
Yeah.
So what's our solution
Not
there,
just
Mike?
brand specific. It's pretty much, we found it's pretty much all of them.
Any energy drink.
Some of them are at a faster rate than others, but yeah, they'll all do it.
We need to invent a synthetic material cover that can handle it.
You can put epoxy down, but that's expensive. Generally, we only put epoxy in like draft repair rooms and repack rooms to protect those floors. And we hope that people in the warehouse are going to clean the spills up out there. It's just really expensive and a ton of maintenance to put epoxy in a whole warehouse.
yeah. There's a warehouse. So in Michigan, we do can and bottle return. We're a bottle return state. So there's a couple processing facilities with a business called UBCR, and they are a reverse vending machine business. So they bring all the cans and bottles back to one location and process all of them out of these reverse vending machines. The floors in those places, Ross, to your point, they look like they're golf balls. They have these divots in the concrete floor everywhere. And you can see where like this is like the third generation of that they've overlaid concrete to reflatten it back out. And now new divots have started in the old concrete and then new divots in other new concrete. But then there's a third layer or fourth layer of concrete that they've fixed as well too. That's all because that's all they process is there. It's cans and bottles, not just from the beverage alcohol distributors,
Yeah.
but also from the CSD guys. So they get all of the carbonated soft drink business as well, all in one place. And we drink this stuff.
Exactly.
Not good for you. Not good for you.
Hey. NA has high GP. No.
NA
Good
has
stuff.
high GP. I don't think that part of the internet is listening to this podcast. We've got a special part of the internet that listens to this podcast.
I'm telling you, what we should be saying is you should drink at least 5 a day.
So, Mike, what
Just
are
don't
top?
spill them on the concrete.
Just make sure you consume them, 100% of it.
That's right.
So, Mike, what are top wholesalers doing right now when they're thinking about building and modifying their warehouses? Like, I think about this as an outsider seeing these distributors operationally on the sales front every day, thinking about our operation too, and be like, I'd be frozen in time over what to do because you see volume still coming down little by little. You've got a blow up of SKUs. You might be thinking about getting into new categories. They're just like Mike's worked with me long enough that there's so many things going on, like not making a decision would be my chosen choice. But I don't know if that's what top distributors you're working with are doing right now.
Well, generally, if I'm working with them, they're doing something. Most of the ones that I'm working with are only doing something because they really need to. Like it's time. And generally speaking, if you're doing something, it's because you're completely out of space. You've tried everything else. And, as you said, the SKUs are going up and volume's going down, but the space requirement is following the SKUs. So the space requirement goes up as the SKUs go up.
I think that's an important thing to double click into, Mike, because you said that most people are working with you because they feel like they have to. And I think that what would be interesting to hear from you is the pitch as to why you want to be proactive. In other words, a lot of organizations are led by sales and maybe by the finance side too. So what's the pitch to say that you want to be preemptive about it? What are the advantages? Kind of leading the witness here towards savings, but what's the incentive to move early?
To a certain extent, it's cost avoidance. I mean, we all know that things don't necessarily get less expensive. So people have been waiting for steel prices to go down since they went up as a result of COVID, and they really haven't gone down. They leveled out, but they didn't really go down because producers like making money, and they figured out that they could make more money and do less work. So they were like, hey, this is pretty cool. So prices aren't going to go down. They haven't gone down. There's no impetus right now for them to go down. So they just go up over time. So if you think you're going to need to do something, there's not a lot of benefit to waiting. If you can wait for the long term, maybe there's something in the future. I don't know. My crystal ball doesn't work that well.
Well, it sounds like you're making a bet on long-term inflation to continue to be there.
Well, I mean, it's always there to a certain extent, right? Like there's always some inflation.
I know. I bought steak last night. It's there.
Exactly.
I'm going to buy a deep freeze because I'm going to, take your strategy. I'm going to buy all the beef now because it's going to be more expensive a year from now. So let's just do it now.
That's the way to do it. I mean, if you're really looking, if you know you're going to need to do something in the next couple of years, regardless, you might as well get started. First of all, it's going to take you that long. If you haven't done anything and you think you're going to have to do something, you need to start now because it's going to take you 2 years to get it done. I mean, that's just the world we live in when it comes to commercial construction. It takes time to get plans done. It takes time to get permits and approvals done. And then it takes time to build. So I usually tell people from the day you start, it's going to be 18 months to 2 years before you're actually using that space.
And not to steal your thunder here, but as the host here, as I jump in continuously here.
Keep going, my man. You're doing great.
You're doing great.
But I'm just saying, do you have numbers to quantify? Can you look at it and say, hey, I can increase your pick rate by X, and by measure of that, I can reduce your operational work team by Y. Do we know what WMS does, voice pick? I mean, are these things that you have in your back pocket that you can also look to?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's not, product layout isn't my forte, and it's not something that I do a lot of. I do a lot of overall operational building layout, but when it comes to actual product layouts, they change so quickly with changing sales, changing SKUs. What I do is when I'm helping plan a building, I'll do a gross, like a long-term projection layout and try to optimize that from a construction point of view. But I don't get into the day-to-day product layout that much. I mean,
do you have a feeling of how efficient the buildings that you built are versus ones that haven't been touched in 30, 40 years?
I can only, based on people I've worked with, and they're extremely, significantly more efficient, like just inherently more efficient because there's more space. And space, in a lot of cases, yes, you may have longer runs, but if you're not dodging pallets all the way, or you're not putting 2 or 3 things in a row so that you have to move everything to get to the thing and back, I mean, that just makes it inherently more efficient.
But in that vein, when you're touching things multiple times, that kills profits all the time too. Are you seeing folks consolidate their cross-docking facilities too? Like, I feel like that was something that a lot of distributors are still doing, and having multiple cross-dock or smaller facilities rather than one larger one. Are you seeing folks consider operational consolidation without even buying anybody and just operationally consolidating their facilities down over the footprint they have now?
To a certain extent, yes. It depends on the size of their market. And a lot of wholesalers who have multiple facilities, they like having that footprint in those 2 markets because their customers are used to having those operations, that hand holding that close. So it's really hard from them, from a customer service standpoint, to say, I'm going to pull my operation out and move it somewhere else. But I have worked with some who have consolidated down, as you said, without actually acquiring somebody else. It doesn't happen very often. No. It's interesting. I've had 2 clients in the last 5 years with both had two warehouses that were in contiguous territories. One built a new building and maintained the second building, and the other one consolidated two buildings into one building. So far, I'm batting 500.
That's fascinating. It's just a lot of cost to maintain over two locations, right? I mean,
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to dive deeper into the whole cross-docking thing. I mean, I don't know if this is the right conversation for it. I'd love to dive deeper on that.
to me, it's just like the hand holding of having product availability for hot shots is what they're thinking about, or for customer service. Like, I think the logistics are good enough now to where you can manage that fairly well. And that if somebody's short, it's more of a training conversation around, hey, like when you order, like you got to order, like the truck is going to be 60 or 70 miles away now on a regular basis from the new warehouse. Like you're going to get your shot once a week or once every other week. And we just got to be more diligent about it. I think we've got enough tools at our fingertips now and enough capacity out there in retail or coolers to have a serious conversation about that.
Well, for me,
I would say you're right. Go ahead, Rob.
I mean, I was going to say, for me, it's just as much. I mean, this is where it, intersects with us. It's like I think it's very interesting from a software perspective too. I look at somebody like Columbia and what they're doing in terms of, looking at velocity breakpoints. I mean, let's put sales aside. Sales, you need to be local, right? But operationally, increasing the amount of centralization, ship point, warehouse storage, and then saying, okay, below this, at a certain velocity this high, then we'll store it at that facility. We'll actually ship it to that facility. To your point, Bud, what do you actually keep at the satellite locations?
Mm-hmm.
And you can start to do this, break down the long tail and start to mathematically look at your velocities and kind of adjust as you go. And then that all has to reverse back into the picking system and the trucking and all that. So it starts to become just as much a software problem in my mind as it becomes operational.
Well, part of it isn't necessarily a satellite operation situation. It's a separate shipping point from the brewery. So yes, they will have some internal cross-docking, but in a lot of cases, it's actually the products going directly to each location from the brewery. So you don't have a ton of internal complexity there. You have some because some of the products will be stored in one location, have to be shipped to the other, but not a lot.
I think people who actually did the math and looked at anything they're doing, the intercompany transfers, when they're sending stuff back and forth between the two locations, there's a cost to that. And I don't know if everybody really does the math on like what that intercompany transfer back and forth is on a regular basis. Because if you're running it, if you've already had it shipped to one location and you've paid for it to ship there, whether it's the built-in FOB or whether it's a laid on top cost and it's not fully laid in, you're touching it again, you're putting it on another vehicle and driving it across, 40 or 50 miles. Like there's an investment to be made. I know Reyes Ross did a big project around that and how much investment and they were doing cross-docking product back and forth between various California locations is what I've been told, and that they've actually pushed breweries to ship direct rather than consolidate to one location. I think the challenge that they had to their supplier partners was like, we're eating all of this investment cost of shipping product to make it easier on you, and it's not reflected in our cost of goods. So we're going to stop doing it.
Yeah, I think there's similar to Columbia in that they take a look at velocities and they have a sophisticated system that they're looking at it with. I mean, I think they have a variety of different warehouses, ones that are pure cross stock, what I'm going to call satellite, so it's kind of a hybrid, and then primary stocking facilities like Huntington is like with their primary stocking facility. So I think the larger ones are getting more sophisticated around this, and I think they are putting analytics to it both from a velocity and cost and shipping perspective, and I think they're constantly looking at it.
I mean, even we tried our best to put in an investment around shipping products outside of the Anheuser-Busch product too, because we wanted to get down to that true detail of like, what is the gross profit? What is the labor intensive side of like shipping this product that might not be, case by case. And it's always floating too, because you order 400 cases from a brewer this month and then you order 200 the next month, but the shipping cost is the same. So you're spreading it over less cases. So that becomes a pain in the ass in the RAS, but it's worth the time and effort, in my opinion, to kind of really seed down through the forest of the trees, like what kind of in net income or in profit are you driving off of these ancillary products? If you don't know those costs, you don't. If you don't have at least a loose handle on it, then you don't really know what you're making at the end of the year on any one of these brands or suppliers too.
I think it'd be interesting to bring it. I mean,
That's key.
maybe we put a point on this and let's go back towards facilities. But
Yeah,
it'd be fun to bring on somebody from Reyes or Columbia to talk about what their process is.
for sure.
So if I could just piggyback on that,
Yeah.
I am seeing not necessarily satellites, but wholesalers who are delaying building, whether it be an expansion or a new build, by leasing space nearby their existing facility. So those are the ones that are really getting killed on multiple handling product. Like it ships to their location, they move it over to the other place, put it in storage. Then when they need it, they bring it back, put it in picking or in storage, and then they pick it and load it on the truck to go out. That is expensive. And
It's insane.
Can you can we quantify it? I mean, I feel like that would be an easy argument towards moving forward with a facility expansion if you could quantify what that cost is.
It's yes, you definitely can quantify it. It just put the numbers together and figure it out, right? That's easily quantifiable, and it I don't know that they think about it up front. When they go to do that, they think, oh, I don't want to spend the money on an expansion, so I'm going to do this for the short term. Well, the short term becomes multiple years.
3 years,
and then they
4
go,
years.
Right. And then I think we have a common client who does this in Missouri. And like all of a sudden they go, wow, we're spending a lot of money doing this. Yeah. We should just do our expansion. Okay. We said that 2 years ago, but okay.
There's another distributor that has run into the same challenge where they didn't want to lease space. They didn't functionally have space to lease next door, but they needed a fast action plan to like expand their space. So they built one of those tennis court domes. And that's their short-term fix that they were able to do it on their property, and they were able to stand it up relatively quickly. But it's one of those domes that sits on their property, and that's their non-alcoholic storage in their, not in their facility, but on their location. And that was their fast way. Instead of doing a big warehouse genuine expansion, it's like, yeah, this is a crisis. We're going to fix it this way for the short term.
Speaking of crisis, could you imagine put a fork through one of those? The whole building would collapse on you.
It did.
Do they plan on doing an expansion?
I think they do. I don't know why they haven't done anything yet. I never got around to asking that question.
They're just going to pour concrete over it, Mike.
Yeah.
That's fine. Duct tape.
That'll be interesting. Use it as a form. Yeah. That'll work.
I mean, I think it'd be interesting too to look at how much additional breakage there is. Obviously, the more you move around, the more you move outside, the higher the risk of breakage. And you know, the breakage numbers have started to surprise me how much higher they are now than they were 10 years ago across even our client base. And then the other thing too is product rotation is a huge issue now. So we're getting longer dated product from our larger suppliers. And obviously with velocity slowing down, that ain't helping. And product rotation becomes a lot more difficult when you've got offsite. And obviously, again, back to software. I mean, you can have great software that helps you with first in, first out, but it becomes a little bit more challenging when you have offsite product like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, the list goes on with the issues. I mean, it really does. If you have a triple net lease, you have to take care of the maintenance on that building as well, right? So it's not just your main building, it's the other building.
I hate touching things twice. I have a huge pet peeve of that. And that's touching things 4 or 5, 6 times. That would drive my anxiety crazy.
To the moon. On automation, big world, big game of automation right now. Mike, what are you seeing in your client work around distributors making decision around automation, everything from big crane down to smaller, Roombas that carry around pallets to case and layer picking that could be the simple stuff. Well, case picking isn't really simple, but the layer picking machines could be relatively simple, and even the shrink wrapping machines too. Any instincts you see clients are looking at right now in that wheelhouse?
Everything. I mean, people want to not necessarily do it, but at least learn about it, which I think is awesome, and figure out, with the help of those companies and me from a construction cost standpoint, does it work for them, right? Like what's the break point? And I think it's different for everybody. Where does it make sense? Where does it not make sense? But it's everybody's looking at it. It's a great thing to look at. For some people, it works. For other people, it doesn't. It just, and I don't think there's a magic number out there that says this is who it works for and this is who it doesn't.
Yeah.
I think the bigger you are and the more SKUs you have, the better your potential for it is, particularly the bigger systems. As far as the smaller systems, I think, well, layer pickers are interesting. Layer pickers are great. 15 years ago, they were phenomenal, at least in the red network, right? Because everybody was selling a lot of layers, whether they were full layers or not, but a lot of layers. Now, with the proliferation of SKUs and big brands not selling so much in individual accounts, it's become more challenging. If you don't sell in layers, it's even more challenging. And making that leap, not that I'm a sales guy, but when I work with a wholesaler, I deal with every aspect of the business. It's tough to convince sales guys to go into a mom and pop and sell a layer of anything. So
Yeah.
With that being said, real quick, like how has that changed the automation? I mean, we've seen the SKU count in the last decade grow by 50%, right? And we've seen, you've already alluded to it, we've seen some of the velocity on those larger items really slow down. So when we think about that and you think about automation, right? I mean, the real ROI on automation is really efficiency and mistakes, right? Picking mistakes. So when you think about that now, how has that really changed? Because yeah, you said back in the day, I mean, 10 years ago, layers, or full pallets or moving pallets around. But now we really need, it costs us a lot to sell less these days, right? Because of these slower moving SKUs, and it's wine and it's individual units and it's more stops per build or per order. So how has that really changed and evolved in the last 10 years? Or are we still just focusing on layer picking for automation and using our warehouse personnel for the slower items?
I would say larger wholesalers are still using and looking at layer pickers. I think the number of wholesalers that layer pickers make sense for has significantly reduced over the last, several years, let's say. I think so. There are two real different. I'm going to generalize it, and an automation guy would probably get mad at me, but that's okay. I'm not an automation guy. There are two big categories, I think, for real automation in our world. One is an automatic storage and retrieval system, or ASRS, and the other one is a case picking system. And I think they do two different things, generally speaking, and they really focus on savings in different areas. So an ASRS is reducing the size of the cube and making the cube more efficient by putting more pallets in that same amount of volume. So that's really that reduces your overall warehouse footprint potentially. I know we worked with a wholesaler in the Northeast, not a super big wholesaler either, like 4-ish million cases, and reduced their new build warehouse footprint by about a third. So that's a significant savings in construction cost. I'm working with another wholesaler, a larger wholesaler in the Northeast, who we haven't done a system yet, but projection wise, it has reduced their footprint by about 50%. So that's a huge amount of construction cost. Like, wow. If we can, that's just so. I think an ASRS, if you look at it in terms of where does it save you money, it's really in the cost of the space and building the space. Whereas a case picking system, any kind of a case picking system, is really going to reduce your man hours because it's a automated system, and there are systems out there that will pick literally every case that goes out. Layers, and they don't necessarily do a layer picker to start with. They're not a forklift operated layer picker. The layer picking is in the automated system. So you put in full cases, and sometimes you have to have somebody in there to break them down into the lanes, and sometimes they depalletize them within the automated system, and you stretch wrap them on the other end. So they repalletize it and stretch wrap it on the other end. And all you do is take it off the conveyor and put it on the truck, or put it in staging to put it on the truck. So that's really where you save a lot of man hours. There's one system that I know of, at least one that I know of, that combines an element of both. So the big picture is ASRS. The smaller picture is you can pick from individual pick lanes at the bottom of the ASRS. So it kind of does a hybrid. But the big savings for an ASRS is in the construction cost.
Yeah.
Do you have a feeling about where the next generation of automation is going to take us from a facility perspective? In other words, I mean, we know what's out there today, and I think you did a pretty good job running us through the kind of the different options and the different plays there. And I think generally speaking, everybody's kind of settled in a certain path. I think what's coming right now is a pretty rapid disruption of that, right? So I think we're going to see humanoid robots that are specific to warehousing, AI enter the picture. Do you think that changes the calculation in terms of, is that going to lead to another cycle of facility upgrade? Does that factor into planning today in terms of getting ready for that? Do you think it'll change anything, or is it just keep it the same?
I think it'll change. I think more as we consolidate. Consolidation is just part of the deal now. As wholesalers consolidate, gain volume, gain SKUs, or maintain like the same number of SKUs, but it's still a lot of SKUs, then you're going to see more look at automation as the future. I think that changes building footprints. Buildings get higher. Most, a building that was built 15 years ago for the equity agreement to meet the standards of the equity agreement and not exceed them by a lot isn't going to work for automation. It's not tall enough. So you're going to see taller buildings, but with a smaller footprint. I think I absolutely agree with you that as different types of automation become more prevalent, they're going to be introduced into our system. And who knows? I mean, it could go anywhere, but I think it definitely will change how people build buildings. And I think if you're not looking at that now, as you get into planning a building, you're probably going to be missing out, in 10 years. Or
Do you think there's an advantage to move early on this just because we know the cycle's coming? Tesla's taking pre-orders on Optimus right now. So is it smart to get ahead of that? I mean, obviously steel prices are going to go higher, and we know the robots are coming for our jobs. I mean, at some point they're going to take my job too.
At some level, sure. If that's what you need, if you need to be planning, then you certainly need to be looking at this stuff. If you're in a position that, this is something that's 10 years from now, even any kind of a building is 10 years from now or 7 years from now, you're probably best to wait a couple years anyway, a few years to see how things are going at that point. I'm all about doing the right thing at the right time for a person's business or wholesaler's business. It's not always about building a building. Sometimes it's just about reallocating existing space. So I think if you're not in the market for a building, don't worry about it. Just keep an eye on what's going on. If you are in the market for a building, then you definitely want to be checking out what's going on now and see what the requirements are for those things in the future, space-wise, power-wise. Are there infrastructure needs that are going to be required that if you put them in the building now, it'll make it easier to do it later? That always makes a ton of sense to me.
We don't get into politics very often on the pod.
Oh no.
Well, no.
But the big beautiful bill has changed some solar credits that are out there and how you can invest in solar and the dynamic around that. So give everybody like the high level overview. Does a project have to be done by a certain date or started by a certain date? And what is that date?
So I'm not a lawyer or CPA, but my understanding is that a solar project has to be completed by December 31st of 2027. Okay. So completed and invoiced by that date to be eligible for the credit.
So in installed too, or just we assume completed means installed?
Installed, yes.
Like installed, useful, yeah, yes. Put into service.
Exactly.
Fascinating. Yeah, so like if you're out there thinking about doing solar, like guess what? Everybody else in the world is going to be trying in the US is going to be trying to do solar over what you've got. It's end of 2027. You've got just over 2 years, 2 years, 4 months to be able to pull that off. Like capacity constraints around getting panels, getting people to install them. It's going to be a mad rush to take advantage of that credit. So if you want to do
exactly
it,
right.
like you got to do it now.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
if you haven't started, you got to start now then.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise, you'll
And
never get on the right side of it.
That's exactly right. And I can tell you that I've had two wholesalers, two clients in the last 2 years do solar, and just the month over month savings in electric bills is just phenomenal. And these are guys in the Midwest. Like this isn't, Arizona or New Mexico or someplace that you get sun every day. This is the Midwest where it's hit and miss, right? You never know what the weather's going to be.
I was looking at a chart this morning. And it was looking at the cost of electricity, and it's going parabolic. And it's not necessarily just because it's getting hotter and people are consuming more air conditioning. It has everything to do with the AI data centers consuming more of the electricity in this country, and we just have no ability. Well, I don't say no ability, but we're really limited in our ability to expand the capacity of the network or the
Right.
system here in the United States.
Right.
I mean, if we're going to build more nuclear, it's going to take 20, 30 years. And so this baseload capacity that we just don't have. It's not, to your steel point. I don't think it's going to go down.
I agreed. I completely agree with you. Yeah, this is the time to do it. And we felt, solar isn't something that we focus on finding out whether it makes sense for an individual wholesaler, and we can help with the infrastructure part of that, from a will it go on the building kind of thing, and power stubs and things like that. And we've helped wholesalers with that kind of thing. But I'm always asking wholesalers, is solar something you want to get into? We had a client, actually the guys that did the automation in the Northeast, they also did they roughed in power for electric vehicles, both cars and route trucks. And they are transitioning their fleet from diesel to electric for delivery.
You gotta be ready for that. You have hundreds and hundreds of watts to be able to actually, juice those babies up on a regular basis, for sure. Tell us about a couple stories, budget-friendly upgrades. You've done some things around cost avoidance with refrigeration. Every distributor manages a refrigeration unit in one way, shape, or form. Mike, we were challenged at Atlas with our old refrigeration units were on the old refrigerant or the whatever it is, and now it's transitioned to new refrigerant or the liquid or the whatever the hell you put into it. Again, not a facilities guy. And, that stuff is happening. We continued to beg, borrow, and steal for the illegal refrigerant for the longest period of time until we sold the business, and then we didn't have to worry about it anymore.
Not your problem anymore.
Not my problem no more. Nope. But what's your experience there, my man? Like, what's going on with cost avoidance around that? Are you seeing that at other distributors, or are they having the same challenges?
Absolutely. Always a concern with what's going on with refrigerants. There's a new one coming out now. What is it? 446A or something. I'm not even sure the number of it.
That name came from a marketing person, I can tell you that.
For sure.
Exactly. So there are new ways to cool CEWs, CTWs that don't necessarily mean hanging evaporators in the roof. They also don't necessarily mean putting rooftop units on a building and potentially having leaks on product. Air rotation systems in new buildings have gotten to be one of my favorite things to do. And they can work with either a refrigeration system, so a medium temperature DX system, or like a ground mounted air conditioning system. Well, they work great in new builds, in expansions, or in replacements. If you've already got a DX refrigeration system, you're probably better off trying to replace that system or add on to that system with the same kind of system, because you've already got a lot of infrastructure in place that doesn't have to be removed and replaced when you're doing the air rotation type system. Case in point, had a wholesaler in the South had heard about an air rotation system in a new building I had done down in Florida from a friend of his who's a wholesaler down there. said, "Oh, I really want this. My refrigeration system's, shooting craps, and I want to put this in." Well, we went out and got bids for it, like $1.2 million, and went, that's pretty harsh. What's it going to be? And it took me a while to come up with this. Honestly, I'm like, okay, so he doesn't want to spend $1.2 million. How can we really reduce this cost? What's it going to cost to replace the system, the existing system? And the answer to that came out to about $250,000. So that's a pretty easy math problem for most wholesalers. Like, not spending an additional $1 million is a big deal. So yeah, you don't get the cool new system, and you don't necessarily get some of the operational efficiencies and maintenance efficiencies that you could out of going with an air rotation system, but you have to go through a lot of maintenance to make up that $1 million.
Sure. It all comes down to an ROI question, which is what a lot of today is about. Like, how are you going to spend your capital? Where do you want to spend your capital? What is there out there? How are you looking forward, future planning, all that good stuff? Those are things that we need to be aware of as an industry. And I like how you talk through a handful of the challenges around, well, we could do this or we could do that. And I love the kind of Swiss Army knife approach where you've had a bunch of experience of trying different things from new builds to retrofitting, and you bring a sense of stability to a project for an owner who this isn't their wheelhouse. We don't build buildings every day. We don't manage construction projects every day or think through that. And it's really important to have a partner like you to help us kind of think through these things. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Mike, how would they hunt you down? How would they find you?
Well, you can always check out my website, which is facility-planning.com. My email address is mike@facility-planning.com. And you're welcome to give me a call at 314-494-5023.
Awesome. We'll put those notes in the show notes for today, so people have got a way to get in contact with you. I loved having the conversation and learning more. We picked on a couple of things around like cross-docking and leasing warehouse space, which I didn't even know some distributors were doing that at scale or doing that more often. I think find that fascinating, the leasing, because we're operating entities. We can invest in for the future. So why wouldn't we own versus leasing something? So I found that is a fascinating piece of the conversation today as well.
Awesome.
I love it.
This has been great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us. If you've got any questions for Mike, hit him up on his email or on his cell phone number and his website, facility-. Also, if you've got stuff for us or you want to touch base with us on things, you can hunt us down at info@vxptech.com. That's info@vxptech.com. We are there taking questions as well from listeners. This was one of the things that came across listeners. We want to talk about some facility stuff. So we were able to hunt Mike down through some mutual friends and contacts, and George, the Silver Fox, and being able to spend some time with Mike today. We'll be back out in Vegas in about a better part of what? Just over a month now.
Just over a month.
Just over a month. We'll be out in Vegas. We'll be having $9 coffees in the morning, walking around the trade show floor.
$18. There's been inflation.
$18. Whatever.
He should have bought 2 or 3 last year, like Mike was saying.
Yeah.
I love it. And if you like what we're doing here on the Tapped In Sales Podcast, continue to subscribe, like, listen, and share with the friends. And Mike, thanks for joining us today, my man. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mikey and Ross, you two rock, and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.